Hello, Masterworks Club. Welcome to the October edition Masterworks Club video. This month, what we're going to do is we're going to replicate this crossword quilt, basically, but we're going to do it in embroidery. Now, for the one that you make, you probably aren't going to want it to be Sovac themed like mine is, but I'm going to do this particular design with these particular words, and so when you go to create your own, you're going to draw out your own crossword, and when you do, it's best to use, if you've got some graph paper laying around, that would be perfect, but you know, just use some paper if you don't have that, and draw out the blocks with your own words and how they cross over and all of that. You can do on your own, but what we're going to do is make this, which is something that's hanging up in my store. We're going to have this as an embroidery design. It's not going to be, you know, this big. I mean, this is a wall hanging. It's going to be fit within a single hoop. But anyway, this is going to be kind of my my pattern, so to speak, of what I'm using as my plan for the design. So you want to make your own plan for your own design if you're going to make a crossword embroidery like this. And so when you're finished, what you'll have is something that looks like this, where it's got the boxes and they're all perfectly square and they fit perfectly together, and they've got the lettering in there, and it's all lined up all nice and perfect. And that's what we're going to learn how to do today. So I'm going to go ahead and close this out, start with a blank, fresh, clean slate here, and we're going to actually work with a couple of features that I haven't really talked about a whole lot in the history of my Masterworks videos. So the first thing I want to do is we're going to go into our grid settings, which you access either in the ruler here across the top or the ruler here across the left side of the screen. What you can do is right-click on either this part or this part. Do a right-click there, and we're going to go down and change our grid settings. Okay, so we left-click on grid settings. This little options menu pops up here. Now, I want to have my crossword design have quarter-inch squares. So you want to think to yourself, say, what size squares do I want to have? I chose quarter-inch squares, or half-inch squares, rather, because that's about the size I needed to make them to make it fit the whole design in a single hooping. But so whatever size you want each one of the squares on your crossword to be, that's the value that you set for your horizontal and your vertical here. Okay, so I've got mine at 0.5 and 0.5 for a half an inch for each of these values. And then for the grid major, I'm actually going to turn off grid major. Now the grid major is where we see these solid lines here and here and here, and then the dotted lines are just the regular grid. So grid major are the solid lines, dashed lines are the regular grid. I'm going to turn off grid major completely by just setting this to 0 and 0. Okay, and then the other thing I want to do is I'm actually going to make my grid a little bit fainter by setting this to, instead of a black, to like a dark gray color, like this, okay? So I've set this to a dark gray. I've got my horizontal spacing on 0.5, my vertical on 0.5. You set it to whatever size squares you want yours to be. Grid major on 0 and 0. And then down here we're going to set this to snap to grid. Now yours is going to be unchecked. So you're going to check this box here where it says snap to grid. Okay? And then have this be like a dark gray, and all the other settings just like you see here. Grid is dashed lines is fine, and we're going to just hit OK. All right, and what we have is each one of these dashed boxes that we have here, each one is one square half inch. Okay, so if I make my squares to be within the bounds of one of these little grid boxes, then I know that it's going to be one square half inch. Okay, so the next thing that we want to do is actually set what hoop we're going to be using, so that I have kind of a frame of reference for the size of my design, so that I don't actually make the thing too big for the hoop that I'm going to use. I'm going to use the big hoop for an Elissimo, say 200 by 300. So I'm going to go up to my hoop setting up here. I'm going to hit the little arrow under it and choose select hoop. And I'm going to pick 200 by 300. That's the big hoop for the Elissimo. You pick whatever hoop you're using. So we're going to hit OK. There's my hoop. So this is the amount of space I have to work with. All right. So I want to make sure that I don't go outside the bounds of this when I'm done. So having the hoop up there just gives you kind of an idea of what kind of space you're working with. When you actually go to sew the design out, even if I digitize my design up in this upper left-hand corner, it doesn't matter. The design is going to be brought into the embroidery machine into the center. Okay, so if I digitize it up in this corner up here, it's not going to make any difference. It'll end up being centered when I go to sew the thing out. But it's nice to have it as kind of a guideline to see where everything's going to be relative to everything else. Okay, so let's see. We've got our grid. We've got our hoop. So when you're at this point, what you want to do is look at your plan. Okay, so in my case, I have this picture, right? I'm going to make this a little smaller so I can see it at the same time as I'm seeing my design. So I'm looking at it, and I've got all the way up the top is this 4 square section with my name, Brad. Okay, so we know that's the very top of the design. And then all the way at the left, we've got a few squares over from that. We've got the word fabric, and that's as far left as it goes. We want to make sure that we've got enough room from where we start this, and that we've got 4 or 5 squares to the left to make sure we have enough room to do that fabric without overlapping my the graphic on my hoop. So when we start our first one, I'm going to start. You could start anywhere you want, but I'm going to start up here at the very top where this B is going to be. So this is going to be the first square that I draw in. And I want to make sure that I don't put it too close to the left end of this. So I'm going to make sure I'm like, 4 or 5 squares away from the end of this. Okay, so we know that that's what it's going to be. And let's see, I'm going to pick, say, like this square here to focus on to do this drawing. Now, when we made the setting snap to grid in our grid settings, what that means is anything that we draw in the program using the artwork tools is going to attach itself to the grid. Okay, so if I go in and I draw a rectangle, it just kind of snapped it. It made it so that fit in this square. Okay, so if I go and I draw another one, you can see how it's snapping. It's not drawing a free transforming rectangle. It's fitting to the grid lines. Okay, that's what snap to grid does. What it does not do, oops, I didn't mean to zoom in and out like that. What it does not do is make it snap when you're just free moving the design. See, right now it's not snapping to the grid. In some programs, that's what it'll do when you snap to grid, and this does not do that. Okay, so we're not going to be able to move these squares around manually and get them to be placed exactly perfectly. So essentially, we have to start out with a square that is exactly perfectly the right size. And the way that we do that is you're actually going to have to zoom way in when you draw your rectangle, because the way that this works is the farther you are zoomed in, the more accurate your snap to grid is going to be. All right, it's just the way that it is. Don't know why, but you would think that if it's snapping to the grid, that it would snap exactly to the grid every time, but that's not the case. And if it's not perfectly square in your grid square, then this whole thing kind of starts to fall apart halfway through. So just believe me that you have to zoom in. So I'm going to pick this square, like I said, right here. I'm right where my mouse is. And I'm going to go and grab my magnifying glass tool. I'm going to left click on the magnifying glass tool. And if there's a better way that you like to use to zoom in, then you can do it. But what I like to do is left click and drag a box around the thing that I'm trying to zoom in on with my magnifying glass tool, and then let go, and it will zoom me in this square right here. This is the square that I was looking at. And look, I'm at 936% zoomed in here. Generally, anywhere above 600 is going to be good enough to do this. My screen resolution is going to allow me to do up in the 900 range. Normally, I would not tell you to digitize at this level of magnification, but it's what you got to do for this particular technique. So we've got our square that we have selected is this one here in the middle, and I'm going to use my artwork tool and choose rectangle. What I'm going to do is move. See how I've got the little rectangle attached to my crosshairs on my mouse cursor now. Now I'm going to move up to the upper left-hand area of this square, and I'm going to left click and drag it down, and it'll snap down to the bottom, and I let go. Now, for those of you who were in class, you remember I made a big deal out of trying to make it so that you had perfectly solid lines all the way around and you couldn't see the dashed lines through. After further experimentation, I've found that it really doesn't matter as long as when you draw the square, that as long as you're really zoomed in when you do it, then it's going to be fine. The amount of time that I spent trying to get that perfect so that you couldn't see these dashed lines, it really made no difference at all. So don't worry about that. Just as long as you're way zoomed in, then this is going to work. So now, once you get your first square in, we're going to zoom out a little bit, and I'm just rolling my mouse wheel to zoom out. And so we can see that this is the square that I have, and I want to make sure that it's selected here. And I'm just going to refer back to my cheat sheet here. Now, you would be looking at your piece of paper that you have drawn out your own crossword on, but I can look and see this. Okay, that this is 1, 2, 3, 4 squares going down. Now, I could go in and just manually draw in 4 squares, but we have a tool that makes it a little easier for us in this program. So I'm going to go back to my my Masterworks program here. What I'm going to do is hit the Tools tab up the top, the Home, Tools, Modify, all that. We're going to hit Tools, and then I'm going to choose Arrange. Now, in this Arrange menu, I'm going to set the number across to 1 and the number down to 4. So this is including the first square that I drew. Okay, this doesn't add to the first square that you drew, it includes it. So you set the number down to 4, the number across to 1, and we just go ahead and hit OK. Boom. Now I've got 4 perfect squares drawn in. Okay, so this is going to be B, R, A, D. Alright, so now we're going to go and look at our next element is going to be, let's see, we're going to do this Janus going across. All right, now the only problem with the Arrange tool is it will only allow you to go down, it won't allow you to go up, and it will not allow you to go to the left. It'll let you go down and to the right to make your repeats. It will not allow you to make repeats to the left or to make repeats going up. So we have to draw in the box for the J here. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to zoom back in on it. We're going to go back to the Home tool, back to the Zoom tool, left click and drag. Okay, so this box, and again I'm around 900% zoomed in, and that's fine. Go to Artwork, Rectangle, left click and drag. Okay, and there we go. All right, so I've got this square is going to be perfectly in the right spot. Now we just go and let's go ahead and look at our artwork again so we can see. Hey, come on. Come on, computer, what are you doing to me? There we go. All right, so we can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 going across that can be repeated from this one. All right, so I'm going to left click on this one, go back up to Tools, go to Arrange, choose Number Across. I'm going to set this to 5, number down to 1, okay, and then we're going to hit OK. Boom. That extends this out. J-A-N-I-C-E. Okay, so this is going to be Brad, this is going to be Janice, and then I can go and look at my thing again and say, okay, so coming off of Janice, we've got C-U-S-T-O-M-E-R-S. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and that's the second from the end. So we go look back at our design. We choose the one that's going to be the C. We're going to hit Arrange. Number across is 1, number down is 9. Okay, so we've got 9 going down, and we just hit OK. And notice that it zooms me out to fit this all in as soon as I do that, which is fine. So now we've got our 9 going down, and we're going to go ahead and look back at our cheat sheet. Okay, so you're looking at your piece of paper. I'm looking at my graphic here. I took the picture of this. So we've got S-E-W-V-A-C coming off of the third one down from here. So that's this one. It's gonna need 6 repeats of this. Okay, so we'll go back to here. Left click on my square. And if you accidentally left click and drag your square and move it a little bit, you can always just go up and hit your undo button. It'll put it right back where it belongs. So okay, we've got this one selected. We want to go to Arrange. This time we're going to do 6 across, 1 down. Okay, so we've got SEWVAC is going to go there. And then we look down, the next crossing is this baby lock. Now here we've got an issue because we've got the OCK is all that's going to be able to be repeated. So that's it. Skips this one and goes down to this. So I'm looking, so this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down, right? Okay, so that's this square. Arrange. Number across will be 3. Down is 1. Choose OK. And now we need to figure out where to get the rest of these squares in for the rest of the word baby lock here. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we need to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is where I need to draw my next one. Okay, so if I want to be really careful about this and make sure that I pick this square, after I zoom in, I don't have the rest of this design here for reference. What I can do is actually drag some guidelines in. So if I go up to my ruler and click and drag down, see how it's bringing this guideline down? And I can put that right there and drag one from the other side and create my own little crosshair. Oops, I accidentally right-clicked. Create my own little crosshair in this block so that I know that's the one that I'm picking. So I go back to home, zoom, left-click and drag, and this one right here is the one that's got the crosshair going through it. So I can go in and use my artwork tool, choose the rectangle, draw it in, let go. There is my perfect rectangle. You can zoom back out a little bit, and this one is going to repeat how many times? 5 times. So I left click on that, I go to Tools, Arrange, number across will be 5, number down is 1, and hit OK. And that links up perfectly with the rest of my design. See how it's all perfectly square? Everything is perfectly square. Alright, so to get rid of your guidelines, you can left click and drag them back up and to the left to get them out of there. So my guidelines are gone. Let's refer back to our cheat sheet. Alright, so we've got FA coming down. So we need to do, basically we need to have, let's see, B, A, B, Y. Oh, you know what? I still managed to pick the wrong place. That is hilarious. Okay, so if you make a mistake like I just did, where you actually managed to choose the wrong square. Okay, this happened to a bunch of people in class, so it's fine that it happened here. So what happened here? Okay, let's look. We've got the word baby lock here. B-A-B-Y-L. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and I did do 5 repeats. But guess where that last one ended up going? Because I chose this square, which is 1, 2, 3, 4 squares over, I've now got 2 squares on this side. Okay, so if I left click and drag this, look, there's still a square there. Alright, so I'm going to undo, 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 undo. Alright, so I've gone to the point, and I need to move my crosshair over. I put my crosshair guideline in the wrong place. I can't believe I did that. But still, I'm glad that I did, because the way that you recover from an error like that is to just simply use the undo button back to the point where everything was still right. So now we're going to go and zoom back in on this spot. Let's see, use my zoom tool actually. Click and drag a box around it. Okay, so now we're on the right one. And we draw our rectangle in. Okay, and then we do our tools, arrange, we're going to do 5 across again, 1 down again, hit OK, and now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so now we're back in business here. Grab my guidelines and move them back out of the way. Alright, so we decided we need FA here, so that's going to be one more that we have to draw in. Back to zoom, zoom on this guy. And we're going to do, that's going to be this one right here. And if you want to check yourself, you can zoom out and make sure. See, I just rolled my mouse a little bit to zoom out, and I can see that this is 1, 2 above the next one. All right, so we got here zoomed in about 900, well, a little around 900% here. Use the rectangle tool, click and drag, and then we're going to go to Tools, Arrange, number down 2 across 1. Okay? And then we're going to take this one, and we're going to repeat this one. So let's look and see how many letters we need. B-R-I-C. So this is going to be 4. So we go in Arrange, number across 1, down 4, and choose OK. So this is going to be Fabric, Baby Lock. Back to the cheat sheet. Okay, so the next one going across is Service. Okay, so we've got Service, and we can repeat from here over. We can do E-R-V-I-C-E, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's going to be this square here. We go to Arrange. Across is going to be 6. Down is going to be 1. Choose OK. All right, so Service is going to be there. Now, where do we need to draw one? Right here, because we can't repeat to the left. So we're going to go back to Home, Zoom, click and drag a box around this area here. There we go. Go to Artwork, Rectangle, and we're clicking and dragging, and that's where our S is going to be for Service. S-E-R-V-I-C-E. Perfect. Yeah, just making sure. All right, so let's see. What's next? Back to my cheat sheet here. Service, we're going to do the machines going down here. So that's going to be off of this one. So we're going to have 2 going down from here. So we need to draw 1 in right here and have 2 down. And then we're going to take this one and repeat it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. All right, so we're going to start with this one. Zoom on this guy right here. Draw my rectangle in. Okay, Tools, Arrange, down 2 across 1. Okay, and then this one, I forget how many I said it was. Was it 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It was 6. So we pick this one. We're going to do Arrange across 1, down 6, hit OK, and then we have to draw in 1 square here. Zoom. Okay, we need to draw in 1 square here because I think this is the word us, if I remember correctly. So I've got my square there. So us, yep, that's that one. All right, so now we're going to do classes come and see. All right, so we're going to zoom back out. So at the end of the word customers, which is going to be here, we have classes. So we need 2 more after this one. So we can use this one to repeat to the right here. We can do Tools, Arrange. Sorry, my brain's fried. I had to work all day. So we need 3 and 1 down. Okay, so there. And then we need to have the next one start here. Go Tools, Zoom. Okay, zoom back in on this guy. Just remember, it's very, very important that you do zoom in far enough. As long as you zoom in far enough, this will be a cakewalk. If you don't believe me and try to do it from zoomed farther out, you will find out very quickly that these things do not line up anymore. So I can't stress that enough. As annoying as it is to have to keep zooming in and out, it's the way that the program works. It's not accurate enough from farther away. All right, diatribe over. How many do I need here? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we need to repeat this 4 across. We go back to the program here. We do Tools, Arrange. Across is 4, down is 1. Okay, and that lines up perfectly. And then what else we got? We've got to repeat this one down 4. So we take this one, do Arrange. And when you're doing the Arrange part, you don't need to be zoomed in. That is fine the way that it is. So down 4, across 1. And then the last one is C. So we can repeat this one across 2, Arrange, across 2, down 1, and then we need to draw in our final one right here. So we go Home, Zoom, there, draw our last rectangle in here. We should be able to zoom out, and everything should look perfect. It does. All right, so this is sweet. This is great. So once you have your grid in for where your letters are going to go, then you can select the whole thing. Either you can hit Control A, you can click and drag a box around it like I just did. You can choose Select All up at the top of your sequence view up there if you want. Select the whole thing, right-click it, and choose Combine. Okay, it's all combined now. And then you're going to go up to Apply Stitches, choose Run. and then change it from a single run to a bean and choose apply. Okay, you might get some jump stitches in there that are going to show. You can just ignore that. The machine will cut that for you automatically. If I'd have pathed this a little bit better, that wouldn't have happened, but I didn't, and it did. So I'm not going to worry about it on the, you know, if basically if I had done everything in a perfect order, then it all would have worked. But don't worry about if you get these jumps. It's not going to hurt anything. They're not going to sew out. The machine will cut them automatically. The way that you would completely eliminate that, basically, would be to draw your crossword in a completely different way and not use the arrange function. Basically, what we could do if we wanted to is use the line tool and kind of do the exact same thing just by clicking it. And I'm not going to do this all zoomed in to make it perfect, but if we use the line tool, we're actually choosing kind of the way the stitching goes, and there's not going to be any jump stitches because the sewing machine is going to follow the path that we set. So basically right here, I'm drawing in each square using the line tool rather than drawing my perfect rectangles and arranging them. So it's definitely doable to do it this way. It's just, I don't know, I thought it was easier really to do it the other way. And what this is going to be like one continuous line basically. If I do it by drawing it in like this, you just got to make sure that you don't miss any of the squares, you know, otherwise you're going to have a gap in your line and it's not going to look very good. I'm not going to do this whole thing like that. But you could also do it this way. Again, you should zoom in if you're going to do it that way. Although that did come out pretty good. But so now this, if I take this and make it a run, I'm never going to get a jump stitch doing it this way because it's all going to be one continuous line. So you could conceivably do it that way too. You know, it's up to you. Using that snap to grid, it's easy to do it either way. Anyway, I'm going to just move on to doing the lettering. So the lettering is an important part of this because when you're going to pick what lettering to use, it's very important to know what size you want the letters to be and to know what size the font that you're using, what size the letters can be in the font. So if you pick a font where the letters can't be smaller than, you know, 1/2 an inch, that's not going to work because our each one of our squares is 1/2 an inch, right? So if we go in here and we put a 1/2 inch tall letter on there, it's going to overlap with my box, and that's not what we want. So I'm going to go in and go into my text tool here. I'm going to choose vertical text because I'm going to do Brad first because I'm a narcissist, I guess. So I'm going to do Brad here, choose vertical text. And I'm just going to click anywhere because I'm going to be moving these letters anyway. So I left click anywhere. That starts your text tool up. By default, it's always going to say my text. So the font that I want you to use if you're using 1/2 inch blocks is called Block Little. Look over here in the corner. Block Little. The default height for this is 0.24. If you want to use a different font, that's fine, but you want to use one that's height is around 0.24. And if you're using larger blocks, you're going to pick a different font whose default height is a little bit bigger or smaller depending on your block size. But for now, just go and pick Block Little. As long as you're doing 1/2 inch blocks. So let's see, the first thing we're doing is the word Brad. So we're gonna go in here and type in BRAD and choose apply. Okay, now we bring this, when you move your mouse over the letters, when the cursor turns into a hand, that's when it's set to be able to move the whole thing. So if the cursor is anything other than a hand, like here it's a little thing with arrows on it, here it's a crosshair, here it's a little twirly doodle, that is going to do something other than move your letters. So you want to move your mouse over the letters when it's a hand, and that's how you can move it. Alright, so now this doesn't line up right with our squares, so what we want to do is get the first one, and you can zoom in a little bit to do this a little easier, get the first letter, in this case it's a B, lined up perfectly right in there, and then you're going to grab one of these blue diamonds, and that's going to allow you to adjust your spacing. So as long as the first one is centered right, you'll be able to get the other one centered right, right along with them. So we use this little icon here. It's a blue diamond. That allows us to adjust the spacing. Alright, so we've got the first one, that's Brad, and across here this is going to be Janice, but we already have the A. So we need to choose straight across lettering, which is the default text tool here, and then left click somewhere. We're going to type in J, I'm going to do a space, N-I-C-E, okay, for Janice. Hit apply, and the space is there just so it's a little easier for me to grab this tool here without being confused with having the letters all smashed together like this. So I get my J centered, go ahead and adjust my other letters here, N, I, C, E. Okay, so there we go. Got them all spaced right, and the next one down I'm going to do this customers, but I've already got the C, so all we need is customers. So we make sure we go back to text, choose vertical text this time, click somewhere, U-S-T-O-M-E-R-S. Choose apply, drag the first one into place. Okay, I'm going to zoom in a little bit so I can see a little better and start adjusting. So we're just moving these little blue diamonds, and you don't want to go out of order. You always want to make sure that you adjust them in order, otherwise it kind of messes it up, and if you try to do that you'll see what I mean. Oh, a little too far there, but we can just back it back up. Okay, and then we're just going to go in and fill in the rest of our words here. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in the rest of my words here so you don't have to sit and watch me do this. And once you get your list, your crossword completely populated with the letters, then you're essentially done. You can go in and change the colors of these things if you want. So like I could take my whole running stitch and make it black, and then take all my letters and make them red, which is what I chose to do. And I'm just going to put up a result of this sewing out, like a picture of what it looks like when this sews out. So I hope you enjoyed this class, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.